This morning, I would like to speak on a topic of preparation for the time that we have coming up. And this time that we have coming up, it's not something that man could do anything to say that he delivered himself out of anything, because then Yahweh would not take the credit, and man would actually boast, would be able to boast within himself. But Yahweh has certain things to play from the very beginning. That's why he said we had 120 days or 120 cycles for certain things to be done. Okay? This is what he said in the book of Genesis. In the book of Daniyl, he told us, he said 70 weeks determined upon your people to finish transgressing, okay, to seal up the vision, to bring in everlasting covenant. So Yahweh already know this, and this is not depending upon anyone. This is by his strength. But there's certain things that are already in place, certain things that's in your DNA. That's why you could hear his word, because it's in your DNA, okay? Because he's calling you out of the nations, out of the people. That's all that really is. He's calling you out of the people so you could turn around and save the people. That's what he's doing. So at a certain time, Abraham's bloodline will be in everyone. He's going to put us into the nations. That's what he said he would do. And through that bloodline, he was going to take those whom he chose. He already know who those are. He's going to take them out. Nobody else knows. There's certain folks who knows what the bloodline is, but no one knows who the individuals are going to be, except for those who are on the abode of Yahweh. That's the only one. And no one knows the exact time when certain things are going to be done, except for your Father in heaven. He knows. And when he's ready, he's going to let the Son know. If you're part of the body of the Son, you're going to know also, because the Son is going to show you. And he has pretty much set it up for you to know the signs of the times, which we see it happening every day all around. Well, Yahweh is about to prepare us for a time period where we're going to become awakened to a lot of things. In the scripture speaks of an ephod. And this ephod was something that was tied on the priest's garment, which was a part of his characteristics. That's what the symbols of it is. And it was also an oracle that people used to get, and they would ask certain things of Yahweh to find out if they should do a particular thing or not. This is actually what it is in the first volume of the book. But this oracle and these attributes that it's talking about is actually talking about what Yahweh is about to give you, because he's about to let his children and his children, that's going to be of the first fruit, because they're all his children, but certain ones are going to wake up. And when we wake up, we're going to find ourselves in a new awareness. We're going to see things like we never saw it before. And we're going to realize what our scriptures were always talking about. We're going to come to realize what Moshe was veiling. We're going to see this. It's going to be plain. Well, in Isaiah 30, let's go over to Isaiah 30. Okay? And this is just what the people are going to be returning to. This is what these people in the first fruit, they're going to be returning to here. And in 30, in verse 20, it says, though Yahweh gives the bread of adversity and the water of affliction, yet your teachers will not be moved into a corner anymore. They're not going to be removed from you, period, anymore. But your eyes will see your teacher, and those of you who don't wake up to physically see, you're going to understand. Your ears will hear a word behind you saying, this is the way, walk in it. When you turn to the right hand or when you turn to the left hand, whenever you go off the path, the left or the right, there's going to be something intuitively in you, and this is the spirit that Yahweh is going to give everyone, okay? And it's going to be your teacher that he's going to assign, okay? And this is going to be the ephod. This is the oracle. This is it's going to depend upon your personality, your characteristics, and based upon the things that you do, you're going to be opened up to this intuition that you're going to know that your teacher is about, because your teacher is going to be present with you. And this time is coming. It's not here for everyone right now, but it's coming. This is very much the way that they handle things in the garden. They didn't need someone, they didn't need to look at a book and read it, because they had something. They had the seed. Before the fall, they had the seed. Okay, the Father's seed. And with this seed, this spirit was there for everyone to do certain things. Now, Moshe put a veil on what he knew, because the children of Israel were just not in that place to get it. And so he had to do a certain thing. But if you notice, Moshe, Yahweh showed Moshe whatever Moshe needed to know, because he told us in the scriptures. He says, if there's a prophet amongst you, I may visit this one in a dream or whatever the case is, but not so with Moshe. He says, this one, I deal with him face to face. Not that Moshe saw the face of Yahweh, but he caused him to understand exactly what the plan was. Everything. He caused Moshe to see everything. Now, one of the things that he showed Moshe, if we'll go over to Exodus 34, let's go over there real quickly. Okay, and Moshe put this, he wrote this in the law. Okay? But of course, he's saying a lot more here than just what the words are talking about. And Yahshua goes on to try to tell us what Moshe is saying. So in Exodus 34, okay, let's look at verse 5. This is after Moshe had gone up into the mountain, or, you know, what is called a mountain in the scriptures. It says, then Yahweh descended in the cloud and stood with him and proclaimed the name of Yahweh. He proclaimed the name of Yahweh. He stood with him. This is all telling you something. Okay? It's not like the Spirit came and stood beside Moshe. This is all telling us something, okay? And this cloud is, if you knew the secrets or the symbols of these things, then we're going to understand what Moshe was getting, because a cloud is in the sky, and the sky, you hear the clear blue sky. But if there's a cloud in the sky, you really can't see through it. So in the clouds is like is a symbol of a secret. There's secrets in there that the average individual can't see through. But Yahweh visited Moshe, okay, in the cloud. So he was in that secret place. And Yahweh was visiting him in it, so secrets were being revealed to Moshe during this time. And so he proclaimed his name. He proclaimed his characteristics, what he was all about, what everything is. This is actually what he's proclaiming to Moshe. In verse 6, it says, Yahweh passed in front of him and proclaimed, Yahweh Almighty. No, Yahweh Almighty, merciful and compassionate, long-suffering and abounding in righteousness and truth, keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgressions and sins, but not by no means leaving unpunished those who are guilty, who visits the sins of the father upon the children and the children's children's, or the children's children, to the third and fourth generation. Moshe got this. Those right there are 13 attributes of Yahweh. That's what he revealed to him. Starting with Yahweh, okay? That's the one you're going to start with. Yahweh, then Yahweh Almighty. These are all saying something. 13 perfect attributes that he showed Moshe. Now, of course, Moshe came down, and Moshe put before the children of Israel what the situation was. Of course, you know the story because he had to veil it. What he saw in the cloud, he couldn't show it to the children of Israel. There were secrets in there. That's why you hear Shaul saying, I tell you a great secret. And he said it over and over and over. Read Shaul's writings. He talks to you about secrets. Secrets that were revealed to him. Yahshua caused him these things to be revealed to him also, which he's trying to tell us. But of course, we get caught up in religions and certain things that mind-bonding doctrines that we stumble here, and we can't get to step away from these things because these things hold us. And once we believe those things, it's very hard to get us loose from those things. But they're secrets. So Moshe had to put a veil over his face. That's what the scripture says, but it's really not what's really going on. But he had to veil what he brought before the children of Israel. He had to hide it. But he gave it to them on the level that they were. That they could function, and he could have social order in what he was doing until they would be delivered as a nation, or the people who believe this, to that which was going to truly save them. So they were caught in this. This is where they were. Now, let's go over to Matithia. We're going to go to Yahshua, because this is what Moshe said. Moshe said, Yahweh will raise up a prophet like me. If you read that scripture, he says, him you should listen to in order to be saved. That's what he said. He you listen to. Now, if we go ahead and we read Matithia, chapter 5, and I'm not going to read the whole thing here, okay? But this is just for you guys to go ahead and read for yourselves. Because chapter 5, chapter 6, and chapter 7 is telling you what Moshe actually got. Moshe actually got those things. Yahshua is showing this right now. That's what Yahshua is showing. Okay, if you go over to Luke chapter 6, we're going to come back to Matithia. Luke chapter 6. And if you look in verse 27, this is some of the things that Matithia is speaking about here. Okay, he says right here in chapter 6 and verse 27, he says, but I say to you who hear. He's not saying just anything. He said, I say to you who hears. Not everybody. Only those who hears. There's certain ones who are going to pick up this message. He says, love your enemies. He goes on further. He says, do well to those who hate you. He's telling us something now. And if you go back and you look at Yahweh's perfect attributes, you see Yahweh coming down, abounding in mercy, all these things, compassionate about everything. He says, bless those who curse you and pray for those who despitefully use you. He's going on and he's telling you, when individuals do certain things to you, don't worry about those things. You are going to act as your father to them. This is what he's saying. Now we're going to go back over to Matithia here a little bit, and we're going to catch up with some of the things that he's talking about here. But I want you to see it from this scripture right here, what he's saying. He's saying, but to you who hear, do we actually hear? To those who could see beyond the veil. He's telling us something. If you can see beyond the veil, you are also, and we're also going to see this. Now, let's go back over to Matithia 5. Okay, Matithia 5. And so he's going here and in 5, and let's look at verse 9, because he's saying, in all this, he's saying, this is the Beatitudes. In other words, let this be your attitude. That's what he's saying. This got to be your attitude. But he's going. You go to verse 9. He says, blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the sons of Yahweh. Blessed are the peacemakers, because they will be called the sons of Yahweh. Now, we're going to look at something else here. Now, let's go over to chapter 43. Not chapter 43, verse 43. Blessed are the peacemakers, because they will be called the sons of Yahweh. Now, notice what he says right here in 43. He says, you have heard that it has been said, you will love your brother, but hate your enemies. But I say to you, love your enemies, bless those who curse you, do well for those who hate you, and pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you. Notice what it says next. That you might be sons. This is actually what Moshe was supposed to deliver the children of Israel to be. Sons. That you may be sons of your Father in heaven, for he makes the sun rise over the wicked and the righteous, and sends rain upon the just and the unjust. Now let's go a little further here. For if you love those who love you, what reward do we have? What are we going to get? There is nothing, because we're doing what every other human being will do. When something is great for them and it's not resisting them and they like it, they could do that. But can you love something who is not awake and is acting in a way that is destructive? Can you love that? Well, if you become awake, you understand why they're acting in that manner. And you don't judge them on that, because that's where they are. And they have a place to do certain things to bring forth the complete plan. No one could do something unless they're held there. Yahweh is in charge of everything. Don't think something is happening, but Yahweh is actually, there's a greater plan than we have actually been open to. And this plan is to redeem this earth, the whole thing. And if we understood the intricate details of this, we will see why the fall came. We'll see why the fall also came with Noah during Noah's time. We'll see why another fall came with the children of Israel. And we'll see why there's got to be another fall in the last days, because that's why the scripture tells us there'll be a great falling away in the last days. We'll see this. Because mankind has something that's in him and it has been put in his heart, and it needs something else to touch that thing to change it. And it's darkness that's in there. And light has to come to that thing to cause that darkness to be removed. But it just can't be removed just like that, because men love darkness. They're going to fight for those things. Once they get used to it, they don't let the light in. They don't want to. They don't want to let that stuff in. Okay, so we go on here a little further. He says, 46, for if you love those who love you, what reward do you have? Do not even the publicans do the same? And if you greet only your brother, what more are you doing than anybody else? Do not even the publicans, which you say are sinners, don't they also do the same? So in other words, what difference are you than the very ones that you curse? Notice what he says next. Therefore become perfect, just as your Father in heaven is perfect. Now, as you read that, you may say, well, Yahweh said in the perfect attributes, he talks about not letting go of those who, those who need to get punished. Well, that's right. Yahweh also said that. So let's go with the Romans. We're going to look at Shaul. Shaul was taught by Yahshua. Yahshua caused that man to actually lose every thread of sense that he had. He didn't know what was going on. And then he lifted this man back up. Okay, so let's go over to Romans 12. Okay, Romans 12. And let's look at verse 14. This is Shaul. Shaul wasn't amongst the apostles, but he was taught by the head of the apostles. Notice what he says here in verse in chapter 12 and verse 14. He said, bless those who persecute you, and do not curse. That's what he says right there. Do not curse. Let's go on to verse 17. Do not repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful to be above reproach in the sight of all men. If it is possible, as far as it depends upon you, live peaceable with all men. He's not saying that you're going to be at peace with all men, but he said if it's as long as it depends upon you and me, we have to make sure. Because we can't control what another person is going to do. And yes, we may have to defend ourselves on that person. But as much as it depends upon us, we are to pave the road, even if we have to be the one that's humiliated and be humbled. We have to pave the course for peace. So no one is moved out of their place, because we have to understand something. These people that you're dealing with in the world, and you and I at one time, we were bewitched. We were moved by passions. Someone said something, we felt something moving us. We want to get a baseball bat or a gun or whatever the case is, and we want to do them in. This spirit, Yahweh says, is central and is demonic. So something was in us. People as individuals who are caught in that. And we don't want to move those things. We want to come to them and bless them. And the things that we do, our actions to them, can't be that which rouse up that which has held them captivity. We have to try to free them. Now, freedom from this government is not what it's talking about, because this government is going to come and go. He's talking about free them from that which holds them in this bottomless pit.
Thank you.
You have to reach inside of them. This is a spirit that we got to deal with. But we can't do it unless we also have that spirit. We have no authority to do it unless we also have it. Because we have to reach them. And deep within them, their souls know it. And if their soul has a spark, their soul will start waking up and dealing with them inside their bodies, because that's where the greatest war is at. The greatest war is in you. It's what you got to do with yourself. You find that there's something going on, but you want to do something different. And here comes the battle. This is a war. This is the war that actually is going to make a difference in your life, because if you go out there and you start a war out there and someone shoots you out there, hey, that's not going to be it. The war that you got to win is the one who is going to deliver you to your Father. Because listen, Yahweh shows you, don't be afraid of the one who kills the body. That's nothing. But he says after the body is gone, he still has authority to put that one in shackles. He still has authority to deal with that one after the body has been put down. This is not me, this is scriptures. So what you have to purify, you have to get in there and purify that which is going to be going on past the body that has fallen. That's something that we have to do. We're going to talk about it today. If it is possible, you live peaceable. Dearly beloved, in verse 19, do not avenge yourselves. Instead, leave the way open for Yahweh's wrath, because he says he's going to visit them, period. He said he's not going to let go anything. So you leave the room open so he could do his thing. Do not avenge yourselves. Instead, leave the way open for Yahweh's wrath, for it is written, vengeance is mine. I will repay, says Yahweh. Therefore, don't worry about what your enemy is doing. Don't worry about what you have been instructed to do. Therefore, if your enemy hungers, and this man has done all kind of things to you, let Yahweh's wrath have room to work with that man. What you do, you feed him. That's what you have been told to do. Feed him. Yahweh let the rain come upon those who hate him, those who curse him, okay, and those who love him. Well, don't you got to be just like your Father in heaven? Do you think Yahshua came to do anything less than show us how to be like our Father in heaven? That's why he says, do these things that you may be sons. A son is a builder of the name of their father. And in this case, it's the characteristics, which is the spiritual characteristic. Let the Father handle everything. If your enemy hungers, feed him. If he thirsts, give him drink. For in so doing, you will heap coals of fire on his head. Not because you want to heap up coals of fire up on his head, but that's what the vengeance of Yahweh is going to do. But if you get into a battle with him, then now you have just missed your opportunity to do what Yahweh said to do, and you have actually caused the directives that will come upon him to not be the way that it would actually be. Because you now have to share in his guilt. He did something, then you did something, so he was guilty. Now you become guilty because you didn't follow your instruction. You know, sometimes we have children, okay? And one child does something to another child, and the other child retaliates. And the parent will say, well, I'm going to do this to him, this one here that started it, but I'm going to do it to you too. But if you hadn't have done that, he would have been the only one who would have had the problem. But you went and did this too. And I've told you not to do this thing also. This is where if we don't hold that peace, this is the same thing that Yahweh brings to us. Because the situation is we have to be corrected. That's all the parent is doing. It's The parent is correcting us. Okay? There is no one who comes to Yahweh that he doesn't correct. He has to purge us. And he has to purge those lower instincts out of us. Because we can't return to his abode like that. We can't. We have to be like him. Be perfect like your Father in heaven is perfect. So notice what it says in verse 21. It says, do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil by doing the right thing, by righteousness. Let's go to Proverbs 20. Proverbs chapter 20, real quick. And let's just stay on this theme for just another moment here. Proverbs 20, okay? And let's look at verse 22. Now they say Solomon was the wisest man. So we're looking at a man who, we just got to look at a man who was taught by Yahshua himself, a man that says he had surpassingly great revelations. That's Shaul. That's what he said. That's what our scripture tells us about him. And now we're going to look at another man who our scripture says was the wisest man. He was wiser than all those before him, and he says there wasn't going to be anybody ahead of him that was wiser. What your scripture says. Now look at what this man said. Chapter 20. Okay, let's look at verse 22. It says, do not say, I will repay you for this evil. Wait on Yahweh. Wait on Yahweh. And he says, and he will save you. Wait on Yahweh and he will save you. Well, what if we decide not to wait on Yahweh? Because that's what I see. I see people want to take laws that they feel they know about and take it into their own hands. That's what we do. Before our time. Wait on Yahweh. This is Solomon. Wait on Yahweh. That's what he says. Let's go to Proverbs 24. Now Yahweh is going to he's going to grant you authority to do certain things, but you have to wait on him until he gives certain things to you. We can't be stepping out of place, out of line. Let's go to 24. In 29, chapter 24 and verse 29. Saying, I will do to him just as he has done to me. I will avenge myself for what he has, for what he did. He's saying, this is not where you want to be. We don't want to say this. Now let's go to the verse before that. A witness against your brother without reason. In other words, don't be a false witness. Do not deceive with your lips. He's telling us something. Now, when someone does something to us, we want to do something to them. And we will move out of our place sometimes to do something to them and actually move from what Yahweh has instructed us to do. So whether we're striking with the fist and say, I'm going to do this to this individual because they have done this to me, or whether Yahweh says, don't do these things here and with your mouth, but we want to do it anyway because we feel it's a right now that I have because this one has done something to me. So my instruction to not deceive with my lips, well, now I'm going to deceive because I feel I have right. Now, that's in the lower cases, the more base material. But some of us get caught there. Okay? Some of us will still get caught in that area right there. Now, this is what we have to look at though. Yahshua has come, he has shown us certain things in Matithia. And I'll tell you, if you go here and you read Matithia 5, 6, 7, and you go back to Yahweh's perfect attributes, that's what you're going to see. You're not going to see anything else, because that's what he's talking about. That's all he's talking about right there. Now, let's go over to 1 Corinthians, okay? 1 Corinthians 3. And we're going to look at the Apostle Shaul speaking concerning your ruler. Your ruler and my ruler. First Corinthians 3. Now, if you go up to the subheading, it tells you in that subheading, it says the house of Yahweh. The house of Yahweh. Now, let's go on to verse 10. Verse 10 says, according to the mercy of Yahweh, according to the mercy Yahweh has given me as a wise chief architect. This is a builder. He's a son of Yahweh. He's a builder of the family name. Okay? I have laid the foundation and another builds on it. He laid the foundation and another builds on it. He's not the only one that is going to, there's not only going to be one person building. Okay? Notice he says here, but let every man be careful how he builds on it. Everyone has to be careful. Notice where we got to go now, guys, because this is really important. This is what I want everyone to see, this part right here. For no other foundation can anyone lay than that which is already laid. It's been laid. It's been there. No one could change it. Okay? It was there before the veil that Moshe put up. It was there before Abraham came about. That's why Abraham said not Abraham, Yahshua said Abraham wanted to see his day and rejoiced. Why Moshe said someone is coming, that's the one you need to listen to, because that is the foundation. There is no other foundation except for Yahshua Messiah. No other. If any man builds, any man, whether he was with Yahshua's apostles or whether he was Yahshua's apostles, whether he was with Abraham or whether he was with Eob, who was around the same time as Abraham, whether he went back to Babylon to build up the temple, rebuild the temple, or whether he stayed back in Babylon like Daniyl did, whatever you do, you have to do it in the same manner, according to the same way, because this is the unification. We all have to be unified in the one foundation. No one else will come and lay one. We have to be saying the same thing as this foundation. We can't say something different. Any man builds on this foundation using gold, silver, precious stone. These are things that won't mess up when the fire comes, guys. Gold, silver, precious stone, it ain't going anywhere. Wood, hay, straw, Well, when fire comes to those things, there may be a loss on those. It says his work will be shown for what it is. It's going to be shown. We don't even have to go out there and boast about it. Nobody has to comes that everything is going to be shown. Yahweh says that. All we need to do is do the work. Just do what Yahweh says. We don't have to go over there and boast about this or that. Just do what Yahweh says to do. Show that. He's going to bring the day that's going to bring everything into fruition. His work will be shown for what it is because the day will bring it to light. It has to. Everybody's work. It will be revealed with fire. And the fire will test the quality of each man's work. Each man's work. Each man has the right to come before his Father with his work. And the Father is going to see the quality of it. If what he has built survives, he will receive his reward. And if anyone's work is burned up, he will sustain a loss. Now, let's go on to verse 16. Notice this. Any man who is going to work for Yahweh here, do you not understand that you are the house of Yahweh? And that the Spirit of Yahweh dwells in you as individuals before you come into a congregation, or you come into a nation, or before we come into a region, a continent, or the world. Yes. You are the temple of Yahweh. If anyone defiles the house of Yahweh, Yahweh will destroy it. How does he do it? He tries everything by the fire. If someone's work is not great, Yahweh, leave it for Yahweh. He's going to show it to you. He will show it for what it is. Now there's one foundation. Let's go to Isaiah here. Isaiah 28. Isaiah 28, verse 16. There's one foundation, my brothers. And we have to make sure that we are not removed from this. Nobody else will come and lay another foundation. Let's go to Isaiah 28. Let's look at verse 16. 28 and verse 16. It says, because you have said, we have made a covenant with death. I'm sorry, 16. Therefore, this is what Yahweh the Father says. Behold, I lay in Zion as a foundation, a stone, a tried stone, a precious cornerstone, a sure foundation. He who believes in this foundation, and when he builds on this foundation, will not be ashamed. Because this foundation is tried. So when the fire comes, this is precious gold, this is silver, this is precious stone. Nothing is going to happen with it. We have to stay here. You have to stay here. It can't be removed by any fancy words. You've got to stay here. Now let's go over to Ephesians. Ephesians 2. Okay, and let's look at verse 20. Ephesians 2 and verse 20. Verse 19 first. Therefore, now you are no longer strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints and members of the house of Yahweh, and are built on the foundation, notice, of the apostles and the prophets Because this is the testimony. These are the ones who testify of how you keep the law that Moshe veiled. They're opening your eyes to this. Foundation of the prophets and of the apostles. Yahshua Messiah himself being the chief corner, of which we also looked and said he put this as a foundation. This is it. Notice what it says. Next one. In whom the whole house, in this foundation, in whom the whole house being fitly joined together. And when it's joined together in this, notice what happened. It grows into the house of Yahweh, in the house of unity. Notice what it says next. And in him you are also being built together to become the house of Yahweh. How? Through a spirit, my brothers. Through a spirit. If you live the Beatitudes, you're going to receive that spirit. This is what I'm going to tell you today. This is how you become a son of Yahweh. That's why Yahshua says, blessed are those who hear my words. Only those who hear his words. This is the word that he spoke to everyone. If you can hear this word, you're going to, and live it, you're going to be opened up to what Moshe saw. That when he came down from the mountain, no one wanted to go with it. Why? Because the righteous man discerns everything, but no one discerns the righteous man. And that's what the situation that was with Moshe. That's what happened with Yahshua. When he went around, he started to try to help people. He could do hardly any works because people weren't believing. Their minds were taken somewhere else. They didn't know what was before them. Something was in that man that could help all of them, cause them to see. But they rejected it. Now let's go over to Kepha. Is it first Kepha? Let me see real quick. First Kepha, I think it's first Kepha. Give me just a moment here. Okay, let's go with the first Kepha, chapter 2. Chapter 2, and let's look at verse 4. Chapter 2 and verse 4. And in this book right here, the subheading says the chosen stone of the spiritual house. You have to be a chosen stone for a physical house. If you remember when the temple was being rebuilt or being built, they didn't bring the stones and work on them on the site. No, they were off-site, and they chiseled them and did whatever, and they brought them to the site. Now here in chapter 2 and verse 4, it says, coming to him, you and I. This is what we have to do. We can't let anyone take us off this course. This is the foundation, and we have to make sure this is where it's at. Coming to him as a living stone. Indeed, rejected by men. Why would you be rejected by men? Because you have the light. Same thing. Yahshua came, he had the light. The earth was dark. they wouldn't take hold of the light. That's what happened. Those who didn't understand that they should love their brother as themselves, they looked to keep the authority that they had, and they killed him because he was a threat to that authority. But he was the threat to them, period. He was simply trying to show them, bro, listen here, you and I have to walk this way. This is actually what Moshe was trying to show us. But they weren't having it. Some did, but a lot didn't. Rejected by men, but chosen by Yahweh, and precious, precious stone, precious gold, precious silver. You also, as living stones, are being built up into a spiritual house, to be a holy priesthood. Notice here, guys, offering spiritual sacrifices that are acceptable to Yahweh through the example that Yahshua Messiah died and left for me and you to follow. That's how we have to do it. Hear his message. He didn't say, what did he say when he left out of here? Go read the scriptures. He said, go into the nations and tell them what I told you. Because in you telling them what I told you, you also wake them up to become fellow sons and daughters of Yahweh. That's our duty. Go into the world, teach them what I taught you. Serve one another. Love one another, not as the world, but as I taught you. If your enemy hates you, love him. Serve each other. If that one over there has a project, you help him all that he can and do what he tells you to do. And you will serve him. Even though you're equal to him, you humble yourself, taking the place of a servant to help him. But if you have something to do, he should do the very same thing. Even though he's equal to you, humble himself also, taking the form of a servant and serving you. You can't go wrong. Once you wake up to what's going on, you don't need someone to tell you and put you here and there. You're going to do it yourself. That's what Yahshua did. Your scripture tells you that. Even though he found himself to be equal to Yahweh, he humbled himself, taking the place of a servant. That's what he's going to do. And you and I got to do the same thing. Even though he had all these powers, he found himself in all this, he humbled himself and did what Yahweh wanted to be done. And Yahweh will do anything for him too. That's why he said, anything that you ask the Father, in my characteristics, though of course he has to be, he's going to do for you. Do you see how that relationship works? You believe totally in what your Father is saying. He's doing everything for you. You're doing everything for him. That's how it works. That's how you and I have to be. That's how it is. These are things that we have to come and grow to understand so we could become sons. In verse 6 here, therefore it is also contained in the scriptures, behold, I lay in Zion a chief cornerstone, elect. And if you are going to do something with that chief cornerstone, guess what? You are going to be elect. Don't let no one take you off that foundation. No one. You're going to be elect. You're going to be precious. And he who believes on him will by no means be put to shame. Can't be. Because that's the foundation. That was the foundation before Abraham, before Noah. That was in the garden.
That's the foundation that was there. Notice what it says next right here. Therefore, to you who believe, because it's only given to those who believe. Therefore, to you who believe, he is precious, the precious metal, the precious stone. But to those who are disobedient or who are resisting what's there, the stone which the builders rejected has become the head of the corner, and a stone of stumbling, and a rock of offense. Now he came before his people, and he caused a lot of stumbling. Why? Because of where the minds were. When he came, he says, don't think that I come to bring peace, because he already knew what he was coming with was going to shake things based upon where everybody's minds were at already. And those who believed in him, and those who believed in the traditions that was already there, in the same family, there was going to be some conflicts, some earthquakes. He said, I come to turn the mother against the daughter, the father against this one, whatever, because there's going to be some who are holding that old stuff that's passing, and those who are going to see what he's saying and believe in that, and they're going to have no shame. So he comes to create conflict. But in due time, all come to Yahweh. In due time, all. Because he having the first fruits, and the people are going to be fed from that tree. And then you're going to have another set that comes up on that same tree. But they're all children of Yahweh. Okay, let's go over to Galatians real quick. Galatians. Okay, let's go to Galatians 5. Galatians 5 and verse 13. Now, the subheading of this one says, walking in the Spirit. Why are we talking about Spirit so much? We have to start thinking about this. Why are we talking about Spirit so much? It's not going to depend upon just yourself. We have to graduate. Set your mind on the spiritual thing. Now, I'm not telling you to neglect the physical things, but the physical things is not everything. It's not everything. There's a lot more to Yahweh's laws than the physical things. A lot more. As a matter of fact, it tells you physical exercise profits little. It's the spiritual exercise that's going to profit a lot. He says, the flesh is useless. It's the spirit that gives life. There's a reason why this is being said. The reason why this is being said. Chapter 5, let's look at verse 13. Walking in the Spirit. For you were called into liberty, brothers, but not liberty to be instruments of carnality. But through what? Through the love of Yahweh. Serve one another. But only serve one another if you truly understand the love of Yahweh. And the love of Yahweh is a spiritual love. It's a love that you're going to have not by instructions that you read. That's not where the love comes. Well, the instruction that you read could help you to develop it, but it's not it. It's something that's there that when a situation comes up, you know. Not only do you understand what's there, but you have a perception on what to do. And you're not afraid of anything. Neither are you afraid of who comes to say something. You don't necessarily want to fight them or nothing like that. But you know. The love of Yahweh. Serve one another. For truly everything in the law through the plan of Yahweh has been accomplished through this. You must love your brother as yourself. You should love your brother as yourself. You know why they're telling you this one and they're not saying the other greatest commandment? Because you can't fulfill the other greatest commandment without fulfilling the one for your brother. You can't love Yahweh without loving your brother. So he's telling you everything is fulfilled in loving your brother. Because when you love your brother, which the law of Moshe is put in order for man, not man for the law, so it's there to help man. And when you know how to love your brother, you're going to lose that same law, and you're going to love your brother with it, and you're not going to put him into pain or suffering, because then that law overpowers you. So when you understand this, and this is in your spirit, you're going to serve your brother, and you're going to love him with the love of Yahweh. Compassionate, forgiving, merciful, abounding in all these things. You're going to do the same thing. And you know where to step, and you don't have to be afraid. These are things that you are going to come to. Now, when this is done, this is the tabernacle of Yahweh that comes to you. He says, in Revelation, it says, the tabernacle of Yahweh is with men. Well, who do you think caused it to be here? You have to cause it to be here. You have to cause that. Yahweh has already put that within you for you to do certain things. When you start taking on the love of Yahshua, that's forcing this into this earth. The dishonest man does the same thing. The devil does the same thing. Uses those to do evil to force evil into the earth. But he uses people, which he used them in their minds and caused them to think in a particular way to create this facade that we're living in, this great matrix. Well, how does Yahweh tear that down? He puts certain things in you, and when he calls you, you listen because you hear that voice, because that is already in you. And as the devil does certain things in these last days, and it gets thicker and thicker, then all of a sudden you have Messiah, the same thing. It tells you that in our scripture. He says the coming of Yahshua is going to be dependent upon the energy of Satan. Because Yahshua is going to save his. And it's not talking about saving you from a death, a physical death. It's not talking about that. He's still going to save his. We have this tabernacle that's going to be with men. And I'm going to share some with you. I mean, some of you guys already know. And this is what 613. I was talking to a friend of mine last week on this, a brother who has understanding in this area too. And 613 pretty much is coming down to the tabernacle of Yahweh being with men. That's pretty much what it comes down to. When you slice up this 613, there is no 613 laws. It is a code. It has always been a code by those who put it together. But as it came down to us, we think that there's literally 613 laws of Yahweh. You're not going to count them like that. And some people come and they put negative laws and they put positive laws together, and they have 613 that they have. But if you read that book, 613 laws, and you look through your scriptures, you see that there's more that he had to leave out, because there's simply, that's not what it is. It's a code. It's a code. And it's made up of two things. Made up of the number of man and the perfect attributes of Yahweh. That's what it's made up of. 6 and 13. And when you put them together, it's man living with his father, or living as his father. That's what you got. Or the tabernacle of Yahweh being with men. They used to go to the tent of meetings, which was the tabernacle of Yahweh. The tent of meetings they used to go to hear what Yahweh had to say and get an answer. However, when the tabernacle of Yahweh is with man, he will be walking and he will hear a voice saying, walk in this way. He won't have to worry about going to the tabernacle to get something. It will be with him. Yahshua is telling you and I how to have this, to wake up. Because we need to wake up. These times are coming. In the fall, there's certain things that's going to be happening in this fall, and if we don't get ourselves in together, we're going to miss it, like much of this world. We're going to miss it. We're ready. We're ripe. We're primed. Start doing what Yahshua said to do. That's what he commanded you and I to do. Start doing that. Let's go over to Revelations 21. Okay. Revelations 21. This is the revelations of all things, guys. And here in 21, let's look at verse 3. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, behold, the tabernacle of Yahweh is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they will be his people, and Yahweh himself will be with them and be their father. That is 613. That is 613 right there. Man and the perfect attributes of Yahweh, 613. Now, if you take 6, you add 1 to it, which is the 1. You add the 3 to it, okay? You get 10 commandments. These guys knew how to put it together. 10 commandments. If you take the 6, you subtract 1 from it, and you subtract 3 from it, you get the 2 greatest commandments. Love Yahweh and love your neighbor, your brother. That's it. If you divide it the same manner, it's the same thing that you get. Okay? Same thing if you divide it. Now if you go to multiply it, this is where another secret is at. Because if you multiply 6 times 3, you have 18. 18 is separation of man from his beastly nature. That's what it's all about. 6 and you have 3. 3 is the number of separation. Okay, 6 is the number of man. 6, 3 is 18. That's separating man, his nature, from the nature of the beast, which is 666. This is what we come to. So there's an evolution that's moving from 666 to 18, separation from the beast. This is what the code of 613 is all about. It has little or nothing to do with actual law. So let's go back over here now, guys. Let's go back over to Matithia, because I want to keep you in the reverence of Yahweh through looking at what you have to do in Yahshua. Okay? So we go to Matthew 5:45 again. I'm going to go right back there. Okay? And in 5 and 45, it says, it's telling you how to behave yourself, how to act, okay? And then he tells you, love your enemies, you know, what you should do to those who spitefully use you and to those who persecute you. He says that you might be children of your Father in heaven, for he makes the sun rise over the wicked and the righteous and sends rain upon the just and the unjust. This is what he's saying, okay? Let's go to 6:35 here real quick. I'm going to run these scriptures out really quickly, okay? Luke 6 and verse 35. Okay? Look at 6 and verse 35. But you love your enemies and do righteousness and lend, look at this, open for no profit, for nothing in return. And if you do it like this, guys, your reward will be great. And you will be the children of Yahweh. For he is kind to the unthankful and the evil. Therefore be merciful, just as your Father also is merciful. This is what Luke is telling you. Let's go to Philippians 2. Okay? Let's get this in our hearts. This is where we have, when you get this in your heart, you are going to be regulated. Because you're going to get a spirit there. Okay? You're going to be regulated. Let's go to in chapter 15. Chapter 13. Okay, chapter 13. For it is Yahweh who is at work in you. It's not by your own power. No one needs to boast. No one needs to boast. It is Yahweh who is at work in you, me, you, everyone. No one could say who Yahweh is working with and who he's not. No one. It is Yahweh who is in work in you, both to will and to act according to his pleasure. His pleasure. He's going to give it. Who could say anything else? We can't move past that. We cannot come and say Yahweh is not doing that and Yahweh is not doing that. We don't know. We simply don't know. We have to step aside. Or guess what we do? We actually start walking and becoming, thinking that we are Yahweh. No, just do what Yahweh says to do. Be merciful, help everybody, okay? Someone try to do something to you, as much as it depends upon you to deal with them and help them, okay? And live peaceable with them. You keep those things right there. That's all you got to do. Leave the vengeance for Yahweh. He is going to have it. These are the perfect attributes of Yahweh. Yahshua is bringing this to you. This is what the apostles are saying. Okay? We just looked at Shaul. He's saying the same thing. He's over here saying the same thing. Kepha said the same thing. You read all these guys, they're saying the same thing. They're not saying things that's different. If you and I ain't saying the same thing, then that's a problem. When we come together, we can't come together on what we create on our own foundation. Whatever we create has to be according to that foundation. So if you and I come together and we agree, and it's not according to that foundation, it's going to come to nothing. Sooner or later. You may not be there yet. You ought to be having patience with us. But if it's not according to that one, trust me, it's not going to be accepted. It's not. So it has to be according to that. We have to make it. We can't make it based upon what I think I researched and looked at and what I think I got. No, when our eyes are open and we see something, hey, let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, so Philippians 2. Okay, actually, Philippians 2. It was 15, I said 12, okay? 13, is that what I said? Okay. For it is Yahweh who is at work in you, both to will and to act according to his righteous pleasure. So what do? Here goes. Do all things without murmuring and disputing. There's no need to dispute about what Yahweh may be doing. Let's just do what Yahweh says. Who knows if Yahweh has given that man something to do? We don't know because we're not Yahweh. Let's not dispute about those things. Where has Yahweh put his word? In the scriptures. Well, let's look at the scriptures. If you don't have the spirit to go beyond the scriptures, let's make sure the scriptures is all right and make sure we conform to it. because you can't go wrong. Even if you don't see, your eyes are not open to see beyond it, you can't go wrong if you do it that way. Because the scriptures are instructions. All of it. Not just the first 5 books. All of it. The whole thing. Okay, so we go a little further here. 14. I'm sorry, 15. So when you do it like this now, it says, in order that you may be blameless and harmless. Blameless and harmless, look what being blameless and harmless is. Notice what it says. The children of Yahweh. Be wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove, without rebuke in the midst of a crooked and perverse generation, among whom you shine as lights in the world, holding fast the laws of life, so that I may rejoice in the day of Messiah. This is what we have to do. Now, we're going to go back a little bit to Matithia again. Okay, in Matithia 5, actually, we ain't even going to go there. Let's just go over to Yachanan 13. You know, but in Matithia, it says, Yahshua says, be perfect, therefore, as your Father in heaven is perfect. That's what he says to us. Be perfect. And Yahshua came and displayed how that should be done. Let's go over to Yachanan 13. Yachanan 13. Let's look at verse 34. 13 verse 34. He says right here, I give a new commandment. Okay? Now, this commandment is based upon love. But it's not in the manner in which we knew it before this time. Because before this time that he was telling everybody in this time right here, folks looked at this written code that they had, and this is all that they would do. Whatever wasn't according to that code, it was wrong. Whatever was according to the code, it was right. I give a new commandment to you, that you must love one another just as I have loved you and demonstrated that to you. Notice what it says. So you also love one another. You got to do it this way. Notice what it says next. By this will all know that you are mine. You are my disciples. If you do it like I just showed you in Matithia 5, 6, 7, you will understand what Moshe received, okay, in Exodus there, when all of Yahweh was, the righteousness of Yahweh, or the glory of Yahweh, was proclaimed before him. You will know it. And if you live according to this, by this, men will know that you are Yahshua's disciples. Like a disciple is a follower of that individual. And you will follow the examples that he died and left for man to follow. And you will know this by the love that you have for one another. This is how it's going to be. By the love that an individual have for one another. If we do this, let's go over to Ephesians 5. And I'm gonna close with this because I got this. I got another part which I'm gonna do. I'll do next week, but I'm gonna close with this right here. We'll close here. The commandment I've given to you. Follow the things that Yahshua has shown to do exactly as he does it, and you'll be able to put everything in order. You'll be able to put things in order. From the beginning of the book to the end of the book, you'll be able to put it, you'll be able to understand it, what it's talking about. Ephesians 5, let's look at verse 1. It says, therefore be followers of Yahweh like their children. Be followers of Yahweh like their children. You know how children follow? They know that they're servants. They know that they're going to do what their parents told them to do. You see? And they're going to love their parents because nothing is in their heart that's going to be against that. You could whip a child right there, and you know what? An hour later, he's running and playing with you again. You say something that an adult don't like, and they'll hold it against you for 20 years until you die, then they finally release from it. So he's not going to say, do it like men. He's saying to do it like children, because their hearts are pure. Their hearts are innocent. Yes, they'll cry because you spank him, but they'll love you the next moment. So be followers of Yahweh like their children. No, their children, not like the ones you have today. It says here, and walk in love. Walk in love, as the Messiah has also loved us and has given himself for us as an offering and a sacrifice to Yahweh as a sweet-smelling aroma. Guess what? You do the same thing. Because in you doing it to your brother, you are also making the same sacrifice. You are accepting that sacrifice on your behalf, therefore you're the one who is making the sacrifice. When you bring a lamb before the priest, who brought the lamb? The lamb didn't get there by himself, or herself. When you bring an animal to the priest to be presented before Yahweh, you got to bring it. Well, Yahshua is not going to go without you. You have to bring that example too. He says, you do what I say to do, I come in you. When you go to present yourself before Yahweh, you bring that lamb. You bring that lamb. But that lamb is not going to go without you. And that lamb you're not going to possess that lamb if you don't do what Yahshua has died and leaving for you to follow. Because brothers and sisters, it's a spirit. If you live according to Matthew 5, 6, 7, or the first half of 7, you will also receive that spirit. And that's what I have to say to you today.